scientist on media in Ghana's democratic journey. Who else has earned the rights to speak on this than Professor Audrey Gadzekpo?
Functioning press lectures democracy is also reflected in the third in the series of inaugural lectures scheduled for this academic year. I'm particularly enthused about this evening's lecture because it is the first this year to be organized by the university in recognition of the achievements of a female scholar since I assumed office as Vice Chancellor. Privileged to celebrate a significant milestone in the academic career of Professor Audrey Gadzekpo, a seasoned expert in media and communications and a former dean of the School of Information and Communication Studies, who has distinguished herself by dint of hard work and a resolve to change the narrative while setting and maintaining standards for the younger generation. As the title of my lecture suggests, I position myself as a scholar activist, as a media and communication scholar, as a journalism teacher, and as a trained journalist working in a developing nation context. I consider myself particularly well positioned to play a scholar activist role by making the knowledge I produce more meaningful outside of academia and sometimes speaking truth to power. But I would like to state that the link between democracy and media is well established in media scholarship and often touted by proponents of liberal democracy. When in 2009, US President Barack Obama addressed the Parliament of Ghana, he highlighted the importance of building stronger institutions to bolster democracy in Africa, maintaining that an independent press and institutions such as strong parliaments, honest police forces, independent judges, a vibrant private sector, and civil society are what give life to democracy. Madam Chair, the view that a well-functioning press nurtures democracy is also reflected in the notion of the media as a fourth estate that complements and simultaneously acts as a check on the three arms of government, the executive, legislature, and judiciary. Information is the oxygen of democracy and what keeps it alive. The potent mediating effect of journalism, not only of the current, but of the past, is another reason the media matter. By recording events as they occur and documenting facts, journalism, as the axiom states, provides the rough draft of history. It is important that that draft be accurate. Some 489 radio stations are currently operational in all 16 regions of the country, and 110 television stations are on air. In addition, there are about 135 newspapers published with varying degrees of regularity and hundreds more online publications. The spread of local language radio across the country has been especially empowering as it has allowed many more Ghanaians to benefit from and participate in public discussions. We must question whether proliferation has fostered pluralism, for the two words do not mean the same thing. In interrogating media performance, we must scrutinize both their achievements as well as their failures and explore the ways in which they have facilitated or undermined democratic progress in the Fourth Republic. I must warn that the media is important because it is an instrument of social control that can be manipulated by both authoritarian and democratic regimes. We must also examine whether, in the first place, the media operate in an environment which is conducive to them functioning effectively. Some of these constitutional provisions, Madam Chair, have been tested in court. For example, court rulings on state media have affirmed their independence from governmental control through the manner of appointment of the boards and the heads of such institutions. The courts in MPP versus Ghana Broadcasting Corporation also affirmed the right of oppositional voices to access state media. Court rulings on state media have affirmed their independence from governmental control through the manner of appointment of the boards and the heads of such institutions. The courts in MPP versus Ghana Broadcasting Corporation also affirmed the right of oppositional voices to access state media. And in 2015, the courts also ruled that censorship of the media through content regulation that was proposed by the National Media Commission was unconstitutional. The legal regime for media was also improved when in 2000, criminal libel and sedition was repealed by a unanimous vote in Parliament. More recently, in 2019, after several years of lobbying by advocates, the Right to Information Act was passed, giving all citizens, not just the media, the right to obtain information, documents, or data from governmental institutions without being compelled to provide reasons. A number of rulings from the RTI Commission has been favorable to petitioners seeking information from governmental and public institutions and have affirmed this right. The lack of any broadcasting legislation is a glaring lacuna in the country's regulatory system, which critics argue is mostly responsible for excesses in the broadcast space. In April 2021, 2 teenagers in Kaswa were alleged to have been influenced by content on television to kill an 11-year-old boy for ritual purposes. The incident renewed calls for stronger regulation of broadcast content, with the government responding by reactivating a draft broadcast bill which had been on the back burner for years and promising to immediately put the bill before Parliament. 1 year on, we're still waiting. The failure of successive governments to enact a broadcast code, compounded by a lack of transparency in how frequencies are allocated by the NCA, has contributed to the political capture of Ghanaian media and skewed authorization in favor of commercial state applicants to the detriment of other tiers of broadcasting, particularly the community radio sector. Critics charge also that the scramble for an allocation of frequencies to political operatives has resulted in a high saturation of radio stations in big cities and made viability of the radio business challenging. Supervision of the airwaves remains unsettled between the NMC and the NCA.
On behalf of the Multimedia Group and its hundreds of journalists, most of whom have had the privilege of being trained by you, Professor Audrey Gadjepo, and on behalf of all journalists in Ghana and abroad, I have been abroad and known your influence in the media landscape, sat in a meeting and a panel with you, and have come to acknowledge what sometimes we don't get to see. On my own behalf too, we say mighty congratulations to you, Professor Audrey Gadjepo, on this important occasion where you delivered your inaugural lecture at the University of Ghana. Like Dr. Theodora Dame Ajintete says, you have got all of us fired up. You have done more than that. I've never listened to a speech and seen the applause being so genuine and sustained and the loudest like you had. That will be my take. And I invite all journalists to go on YouTube, not only journalists, to listen to this particular lecture. Let's all play it over and again, the full tape, and get a rebirth that will help this democracy on the eve of its 30th anniversary. Thank you.